Hi, everyone. Welcome to this beautiful Tuesday.
Oh,
First of all, let me take my glasses off because of the reflection. I will kind of welcome today to my LinkedIn Live. Sharon, it's V, right? That's the pronunciation?
yeah.
Okay. Sharon and I connected probably December-ish, January. And I love your mantra. First of all, just, as a reminder, it's going to probably take about 25, 30 seconds or so for people to actually start chiming in with the chat. I always like to see where people are coming in from. And I know you did a great job also of promoting it. I love the mantras that you talk about developing yourself and, building on that and the whole journey thing. Because I know during the pandemic myself, I didn't needed to do a little bit of a rebrand as well. So, um, what were some of the things that you thought about that you needed to kind of think about as you developed yourself and realized you talk about superpower all the time. So what are some of the things that kind of got you to the place that you're at right now?
Just generally being unhappy, I guess. Like I'm a very happy person, and I have a really good attitude. But like there was a moment in time where I just realized that the path that I was on was not like I saw what my future would look like, and that's not the life that I wanted to lead for myself. And I just felt like when it comes to personal development and also like developing your career, like I think that they're completely intertwined because as we grow we change, and I just felt like I didn't fit in anywhere. So this just caused, it was like a catalyst for me to really just start exploring things. Like I really thought that I was like, maybe I'm not meant to be an attorney, maybe I should be a photographer. And I explored that, and just also just getting to know myself more, because I think, like there's that saying, it says, most of us are born unique and die copies. And it's just sad because, there's only one you. We're like snowflakes. So just getting
Right.
to know myself and embracing that.
I know for me, I think especially you have to know what you're good at, what you're not good at, and it doesn't even have to be from a technical standpoint.
Yeah,
Um, part of my journey was I just realized that I wanted to put myself out there and be more empathetic and show support, because I was kind of in that place where I'd done as much as I could in a corporate environment, and it makes me feel better. And I think that's a big part of it is having that self awareness with anything you do.
for sure. And I want to give a shout out to those joining from New
Oh,
York and New
sure. I
Jersey,
got
from
Terry from New
Miami.
Jersey, Drew Gattuso, and Felicia Zadok. I know Alex Freund was going to be here just as a shout out. He's actually filling in for someone else, for Paul Sakala, who's doing a networking event in Maryland, but he's here in spirit as well. I want to make this an open conversation, so if people have comments or things that they want to join us with, this is Sharon and I talking, but we obviously want to make it as engaging as possible, because I know
Yeah,
job seekers
100%.
job seekers have different challenges. We all have different challenges, and I think these times, much as I hate the words, but it kind of brings us together, to be somewhat empathetic.
Yeah, for sure. Going to really discovering your superpowers and everything like that is, it's I found it quite difficult, especially in the legal field, is because like generally you have to fit certain molds, and people want like plug and play for obvious reasons. And when you're in law school, opposed to when you get your MBA, law school really teaches you how to think like an attorney and be like learn the law and different things like that. But it also kind of really hammers down this lack mentality, in the sense that like you can only, not necessarily like, basically you don't really learn to think outside of the box in terms of like who you're serving and how you are uniquely skilled to
Mhm.
serve your audience. Whereas when you're in the business world, it's all about who's your ideal client and what can you do, how are you, like what can you contribute to them. And I think that's also that's important when we're also getting to know ourselves, and realizing what we like to do. And by having those contrasts of the things that we don't like to do, it teaches us what we do like.
Right. I know that from an IT perspective, it was almost considered a weakness for a while that how many questions can you ask? What if you don't know the answer? You kind of have to figure it out yourself. Otherwise, it's a show of weakness. But I think knowing that you don't know the answers to everything, knowing that you have to ask for help, that's a strength. To say that you don't know how to do everything is a really important thing.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think that you get into more trouble by giving an answer when you're not fully aware of what the answer is. It's, I think also clients will respect you more saying, let me get back to you on this with a more informed decision or a more informed answer. Because, like, just telling, I mean, this is just something that gets me. Like, I just generally don't, it's not necessarily dishonest, but like, you're watching a movie or you see things happening and you're just like, God, like, if you just take a second to say, okay, let me come back to you, opposed to promising something or saying something, and then later having to come back and eke back and be like, oh, it wasn't this way. I feel like it's worse to have to come back and say, I'm sorry, I was wrong, opposed to taking the moment to like really figure out the right way to answer that question.
Just to let you know, I think
Hey,
we
Tracy.
both know Tracy very well. Christina Dykman down the
Hey,
shore,
Christine.
and Richard Sanford. Um,
Hey.
what I've learned to do a lot is if I don't know the answer to something, whether it's in an interview or something else, I may just take a little internal deep breath or just kind of a momentary thing, because sometimes if you're too quick to respond, it's too late. And sometimes, as you said, it's like, why did I say that? What was I thinking? And even in a business sense, I'll get back to you in a little while, because it's not, I just need to think about it first.
And to add, it's okay not to respond right away. Like, I think that people get so used to this, rapid fire responses, but I think it's totally fine to take a beat to respond to people. Also, we are humans and we have lives outside of what we're doing, and it's okay to live that life. And I think it's
And
okay
even
to,
Okay, even along those lines, I even to this day, if I send out an email with a typo or something, or a link that doesn't work or something, I'm gonna own it right away. I mean, we all make mistakes. I'm not gonna, obviously I'm gonna proofread and make sure it's important. But if there's a typo or something, and I know that Brenda Miller talks a lot about this too, if there's nothing wrong with mentioning to someone that there's a typo or something, if it's part of your brand, it's almost like anything else. I mean, it's I won't take it personally. Most people won't, because you absolutely, you want to have people, kind of looking out for you.
100%.
Um,
100%.
Eve is calling in from the city now. Do you know Christina Tarragos?
Not yet, but hello, cheerio.
Hello, hello. That's one of the reasons I actually did these at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, because it's evening in England, and you're people in California. It's the morning. Um, I feel a little bit badly for my Australia and um, Asian folks, because it's a little bit later there. But that's what's great. You can always watch these on the recording and on the
Yep.
replay. Um, I find that one of the challenges most people have is a fear of failure, a fear of just basically um, not wanting to come across. And this is really a great comment here. It's a courageous person who takes the lead to say what they do not understand or agree upon. And it opens you up, because if I don't know all the answers and I'm supposed to be the lead of a project or something, and I say that, at least that helps everyone else on the team. Then they feel comfortable, that, well, he doesn't know everything. So I guess I don't have to know everything.
Yeah, you can definitely, hey, Tony, you can definitely solicit feedback from others. I think that, we live in color and you can't know everything. And so it's important to be collaborative and open yourself up and say, hey, what do you think about this? And actually be open to hearing what somebody else has to say without thinking about what your response is going to be. And to that point, also, when we do err, I think it is important for us to be able to own up, despite how uncomfortable it is, to say, listen, I mean, there's ways about going about it, but saying, okay, I messed up. I'm a human being. It happens. As an attorney saying this, but yeah, it's important to be authentic and
I,
also be careful how you say it.
I'm sorry. I think listening skills are very much underrated too. I think there's a mindset that I have to be able to answer the question right away. I have to just do it. I can't just think. And that was the thing I'm still trying to learn, not anticipating responding, but really thinking, because the other person may have something to say, and I don't want to basically, speak over what someone else is saying.
For sure. I mean, you also have, I mean, I call them downloads. When I'm having a conversation with someone, I just get like a download and something is so clear to me and I want to express that. I think there's a difference between you when you have that moment of like where inspiration kind of strikes, or where you're just so set on like what your response is supposed to be that you completely miss what that person says. I think a great way of, I just had a download. I think a great way of like thinking about it is, when you, like, for example, this LinkedIn Live, someone could re-listen to this later on and get something out of it that they didn't hear beforehand.
Definitely. And what I always like to say is, when you go back, all these great comments here, this is a great opportunity for everyone on this call to react and follow up and build a relationship and a network that way, because it's the little things like that that just make it better, because you have that commonality, whether you're attending a call like this or something else.
Yeah. Got to remember the human factor.
Yeah, I think we've all kind of lost a little bit sight of that a little bit. I know that a lot of us are zoomed out and just kind of online out. I look forward to going out and seeing people from time to time, but I don't want to lose track of all the relationships I've had, virtually, because that's been such a great gift for me.
Oh, it's definitely opened up the world that like I have made so many wonderful connections all over that I otherwise wouldn't have made. And I think this is a great cameo into something that we had possibly discussed talking about, is that, our relationships, and I did a video on this because I really think that the relationships we have in this world, like the people that we surround ourselves with, that is the definition of true wealth. The people that we surround ourselves with are a reflection of us. And I know in the past, when, like, for example, when I came back, I studied abroad in Germany and started my career out there. And I came back feeling like I didn't accomplish what I wanted to accomplish. And when I came back, I didn't want to tell anybody that I was back. But really, my network and those people in my life would have supported me no matter what. And I feel like I've learned to kind of embrace that more.
I think you have to fail sometimes in order to succeed. It's a
Yeah, for
lesson
sure.
that I've learned. I mean, you have to know how to rebound from things that have worked against you. And Deborah, I'm happy that the message is resonating with you so much. Lauren Lefkowitz, we recently connected for the first time. And I couldn't agree more. I mean, and the connections are not just we're having a call. We will do follow-ups. We will talk. We will talk about other things, because we feel this is as close. I've never been able to get as close to other people without like picking up the phone. And it's not the same thing, because you can see people. And I'm looking forward to actually going and meeting people in real life, whether it's locally or maybe at an event. And now I've actually seen them. I've spoken to them, and it's even that much better than I have to look at your badge and I have to, is that who you are?
Yeah. I love the virtual. I mean, there's, both are good, but one of the things that I love about the virtual aspect are not only that you can speak to people from all over the world and form genuine connections with them, but you also have like a moment before you meet with them that you can follow up on the last things that you talked about, and also you have a moment to debrief afterwards where you can let that conversation sink in, where it's less like when you're in a room full of people and it's just so many things are coming at you.
Well, I'm an introvert by nature, and this has been a great time for me, because when I used to go to in-person events with 50, 60, 70 people, and maybe others feel the same way, I'm like, oh my God, um, what am I going to say? How am I going to say it? Do I really belong here? So this has given me a lot of the ability to kind of feel comfortable when I do go to places, because I've been able to build one-on-one relationships, or smaller relationships. It's just and that's been an insecurity of mine, and I don't know if it's with other people. How do I fit in there? Why am I the person there? I mean, what makes me different from everyone else? And those are things I need to work on too. I mean, I admit that, but it's definitely things that seem to have resonated with other people.
I think that's a really interesting question to ask, because like when you're having that moment where you're questioning like what am I doing here? like to ask yourself like where it's coming from. I do that all the time. Like when I'm
Hmm.
feeling certain insecurities or different things, I start to ask myself what could be the catalyst, like what's going on here, and actually get curious, because that's like our internal guidance system telling us that there's something happening, that we should probably pay attention to.
So Joey, speaking for a friend of his, wanted to get some of your thoughts about how to help mature job seekers develop their brand. I mean, um, one of the things we all come across, because I'm a career coach on the side, is people of our age. We're used to doing job search a certain way. Some things are not as intuitive to us. So, are there any suggestions you might have, for people of our age to kind of market themselves and brand themselves?
Okay, well, first off, I say your biological age does not have to match your chronological age. Age doesn't really matter. I say really start focusing on your superpowers, what makes you unique. I work with an amazing coaching community where we work with a special assessment tool. I have the Inspired Attorney Assessment, which helps my clients jumpstart their superpower analysis, where you can figure out, okay, where are my values? What values are possibly misaligned? What organization do I fit best in? How do I work? How do I make decisions? What's my comfort zone? I think really allowing yourself to get curious about what is uniquely what you can bring to the table, and start building your own confidence and saying, okay, this is both, it's twofold. Like they want you and you want them. And you're spending your time in a job. Yes, it's for compensation, but like life is not meant to be, life is meant to be fun. And like you can find a job where you're using your superpowers and you're making an impact and you're actually happy. Maybe not every day is going to be the best day.
Right.
But I think it's sad when most people just hate their lives and dread going to work in the morning
So
when they
then,
just have so much to add.
so how did you come up with the inspired attorney?
The Inspired Attorney was a download.
Okay.
So I initially started. So really, what happened was on the journey, I was figuring out what I wanted to do. I went the photography route, and all the while, I've worked in the e-discovery field, working with a lot of attorneys who had their own practices. And yeah, Tracy, I agree. Tracy said that a lot of people don't know their superpowers. And so I think that my journey was a lot longer than it could be,
Hmm.
partially because I didn't necessarily ask for help. And that's something huge. Like we need to be able to ask for help. Like my ego came in involved, and also not really thinking outside of the box. But so all the while I'm on this journey, I'm coaching my peers and other other business owners. And someone said to me, you should, I was loving it. Like I actually love these interactions, like being able to help people, actually seeing how the strategic guidance that I'm giving them is helping them get to the next step, helping them see paths that they don't see. And someone said to me, have you considered becoming a coach? And I was like, oh, I never thought of that. And then just by divine intervention, I had signed up for this course, and literally that coach sent an email, said, are you thinking about becoming a coach? And I was like, yeah, I am. And that kind of jump started it. And my initial focus, like the inspire, just like anything, I feel like when you have an idea, you need to go for it and let, like, kind of like the Michelangelo forming that beautiful piece of sculpture. You have to go with it and let it evolve. And so the Inspired Attorney really came out of, it started with Sharon Ve coaching, basically helping attorneys, and it's evolved to something that I think is much greater than me. And it is really helping attorneys and people really own your superpowers and own the fact that you're uniquely you and live that life that you want to live.
So, again, your journey is amazing, and I think there's the issue a lot of people have, and this is what Tracy said. They don't not only don't know their superpowers, they're really not sure what their journey should be like, and so they're kind of. I know with the job seekers, I always say this: your past is your past. It's what do you want to do with your past experience that's going to make you relevant for your next position, whatever it is, and it may not be in your field, but you lose a job, you don't lose your skills. So you just have
Yeah.
to figure out how that's going to make the next, and that's where you need to ask for help, because I can say the words, you can say the words, but you really need to kind of bounce some of this off other people to get their thoughts as to what that means.
Yeah. Just like, like I mentioned with the Michelangelo, it's just kind of molding it and going with it and seeing where it goes. And I also think that there are no shoulds. There's what you do, what you don't do. But I think that when you're open to getting to know yourself and being curious and owning what makes you happy and owning what doesn't make you happy and really exploring that, that is the first step in the right direction. And so often things don't make sense in that very moment, but they later make sense. I heard a Jay Shetty affirmation today where he said, I am where I should be, right? Or I think there's a should. It said, I am where I'm meant to be right now. And I think when you say something like that, you can also have gratitude for that moment that you're in, because even if that moment sucks, pardon my French if that
Oh, it's okay.
bothers people, even if that moment sucks, it gives you that contrast of, okay, what don't I like about this, and what can I do to get to that next step where I am happy, and where can I find happy emotions out of this? Because so often we focus on what is not working opposed to really getting uncomfortable, because like that what is not working is somehow comfortable even though it's uncomfortable, if that makes any sense. Because when something's not working, we focus on it and we focus on it and we focus on it, opposed to going to the uncomfortable about, okay, what can I do to make me happy? What are things that I can do to lift my spirit, and start finding ways to go outside of that instead of coming back to what's bothering us.
I think
It's
that's what,
easier said than done.
well, I know for me, a lot of times I have to decompress, and some of my best ideas come when I'm not even thinking about what I'm going to do. Um, I may be in bed at night, just getting ready to fall asleep, and the idea comes, or first thing in the morning, depending on what you are, or maybe it's just when I'm sitting around. And my thing is, I always try to jot down stuff, put it either in my phone or somewhere else so I don't forget, because then when I'm realizing it, I've forgotten what I wanted to do. So it's giving yourself the permission sometimes to not do this at times, whether it's exercising or getting outside or something. You know, you have to kind of rethink how you're wired at times. It's easier said than done, like you say, but it does make a difference.
You hit on a really important point. Like, I totally advocate meditation, how whatever form you want to use, prayer, going for a walk, but like taking really time, at least 10 minutes a day, to reset and to clear your mind and allow yourself to just try to focus on nothing. And it definitely is a practice, because I've been meditating for years now, and I still have mornings where it's like da 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 da, and I'm just really trying to parse through it and really find that moment to be in the now and just be clear. Because if we don't take that moment to reset, then we're just constantly going back on those same mental patterns that we had going from whenever beforehand. And it's just, you have to shut down your computer. You should
Yeah.
shut down yourself too.
So
Not like shut down, but reboot.
I'd be curious. I'd be curious to get some a sense of the people that are joining. What are some of the things that you do to decompress? I mean, what are some of the things that you do? Because what I'm going to do and what Sharon's can do is not going to work for everyone. Based on what we do, and it's always a good idea because we all come from different places and we have different experiences, and some of us have families, some of us don't, and sometimes life gets in the way. And so recognizing what you can and can't do is so important. I know that, for me, one of the biggest challenges, honestly, was becoming an empty nester in the very beginning. After all the pitter patter in the house and all the other stuff going on, and it's like it's quiet at times, which is good, but I wasn't used to it.
For sure, I can imagine. So you're used to so much stimulation, and then all of a sudden you're like, what do I do?
Okay. What transferable skills from law school did you tap into most during your pivot?
So I think one of the best skills is how it's kind of hard to describe, but law school teaches you a different way to think. And so just the way I approach situations is different post law school. Now I got an MBA after that point. So I'm really happy that I went the business route after that point, because it kind of like, you go into law school thinking, like, I went to law school being like, okay, this is a really great tool to my tool belt, and we'll see what happens. But then law school is like, you have to be an attorney basically. And then going to my MBA program, it kind of like switched my thought patterns a bit. But I think really just like being able to kind of issue spot is like something that a really great thing that you learn in law school. And that's one of the skills I would say that helped
What
with
is
my
that? You
pivot.
call it an issue spot? Is that it?
Yeah, issue spotting.
So
I guess that's the best way to describe it. So when you have like when you're looking at a fact pattern, you're spotting like where the issues are.
okay.
And they basically train you to do that.
So in some ways, it's not unlike being a project manager, where you go through different things and you figure out what the issues are and how you're going to resolve them, or if you're going to resolve them, I guess. Maybe
Yeah,
that's a little
true.
bit simple. So I think I know and my thinking is, I'm not a lawyer, but lawyers are very, very specific. They have a very specific things that they need to do in order that they need to do things, and there's no deviation, and there's a process to it. And I've talked to a lot of different attorneys, and I think in some ways they struggle at times with how they get out of that pattern and become a little more, I don't know if approachable is the right word, but just able to kind of simplify, maybe. Maybe that's the right word.
Well, I mean, yeah, I see that's the thing that I think a lot of attorneys fail to realize, is that like we're not made the same. So like one PI attorney has like, yes, you're handling cases, but like the people that you serve are not the same people. It's all like everything is about people. No matter what it breaks down to, it's still about people like involved in different scenarios. And how are you serving them?
I think, the other thing that's a little bit hard for people of a certain age is the idea of having to go back and do training, whether it's in a classroom or whether it's online. But you need to continue to be learning and be active and be relevant, because even though you may know things from a soft skill standpoint, they're looking for certain certifications or certain understandings that you need to pick up. And this is one of the things we talk about a lot. When you go for a job interview and they're looking for skills A, B, C, and D, we can learn those skills. Not a big deal to learn them, and give us the opportunity to. And sometimes I think that's lost in the hiring process. People don't hire people anymore. People don't work with people as much. It's all based on automation. And so things like this, these are great conversations. It's just an opportunity to talk about stuff.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I pulled out of what you just said is that, and I've experienced this myself also. So you see something and it says, okay, we're looking for this, this, and this, and you all of a sudden say, okay, well, I'm not that, so I'm not good enough. That's not true.
Well, the other, because a lot of times it turns out the job spec is about what the company thinks they need as opposed to what they actually need. And you have to do some exploration, because maybe it was a position that the person left after 5 years, so they're going to fill the same roles, but the responsibilities have changed over time. And that's a mindset thing. And that's where people like myself and others have to kind of get the job seekers or the potential, people that you're going to do business with to think that way. It's what you can do to help the company, and it may not have to be something written, but you have to educate. Maybe that's the best way
Yeah.
to put it.
I've gone into a number of positions starting out as one thing. And then, so one of my jobs in college, I started as the education secretary for the Florida Association of Realtors. That started as really something like, it was part-time.
Mm-hmm.
But I was able to contribute and evolve the role into something greater than I initially started out with. And I did the same with my first legal job. And I think that we have to be willing to go into situations, and well, I just think outside of the box, but I think you have to also be open and see like where there are opportunities, where you can help, and offer and try and think ahead.
I think again, it's a mindset that here's the job spec. This is what I apply to. It's written down. These are the steps. I have to do this. I have to do that. I think it's really hard to think outside the box or think outside your comfort zone. We all have that familiarity, and asking someone to do something. This for me is outside my comfort zone. I never would have imagined having a conversation like this with people watching. Thank you very much. But it's weird, for me, because I never envisioned that. But I did it. I feel comfortable with it, and it's been a lesson that I've learned from every speaker I've had, including yourself. Different. I always take things away.
So I will add, and you said something earlier about developing your skills, developing yourself also from a personal development standpoint. It's not comfortable. Like it's always like, it's easier to just flop on the couch and throw on Netflix. But at the end of the day, that's not going to take you to the next step. Like I like to say, if you're not growing, you're dying. Like life is an evolution, and we as beings are constantly evolving. And if you're not willing to put yourself in those situations where you can possibly fail and where you're feeling that discomfort, you're not going to be able to, ride the wave that is life.
So true. I mean, there's an insecurity aspect to it with everything you do. I mean, when I'm on LinkedIn, the biggest thing is people are so afraid to post something. They're so afraid to
Yeah.
comment. Imposter syndrome, whatever. We're all people. What's the worst thing that will happen? And you put it in perspective. So you don't get the call back. So no one likes your post. So this or so that. So what? Easier for me to say, but it's true.
So I listened to something the other day where the guy said something along the lines of like, grow slowly, like allow yourself to grow slowly. We live in this world where we want things to happen right away, but things take time to develop. Sometimes, things happen right away, but you have to also build momentum. And I think it's, considering like how often I post on LinkedIn and all my other social channels, like you would never know, but my first post on LinkedIn announcing, that I was starting Sharon Ve was so scary for me. My coach like coached me to do it. It was just like, like even if you think about like the first time you drove a car, if you've driven a car, like that was scary. I mean, it was exciting for me at least, but like, like these things, like a lot of the time, like the first time you do something, it's really scary and it's uncomfortable. And then eventually things can become routine, and you think back and you're like, wow, like I can't believe that was just, like one of the scariest things for me. I mean, we can like look at people who have done incredible things in this world and think, okay, yeah, like they had to do something for the first time and that's how they got to where they are.
I think back to the first time that I had to get in front of people. And I'm not talking about a 15-second elevator pitch, because you can do that and you're like, done. Thank you very much. I can go back to my shell. But I did a presentation, and it was a presentation actually at my college, because I was doing something for the Alumni Association. And I was so intimidated. I was like, you're coming to hear me. Like I have something special to say. And I know I was scared to death. I was freaking out 2 hours before. I was just gritting my teeth through it, and was over. I felt so relieved, but I also felt so invigorated doing something which I never thought I would do.
Totally. And I agree with what Joey said, that
Yes.
sometimes some people will resonate with what you said and some people won't. Next, I think that you should do what makes you happy as long as you don't hurt anybody, and keep putting yourself out there, because like you put things out there in whatever way you can, do the best that you can with what you have, and just continue to put yourself out there. Because I mean, I'll give you an example. Like I have put things out there and then I didn't even like you then like people don't acknowledge anything. Like I've put posts out there, plenty of posts, and like no likes. I see like, 50 plus views or whatever. But then I get a call with someone, or I have a message from someone where later on, like months later, they say, hey, that really helped me. And you just never know. You never know. You know, like we live in this world where like we think we know everything, but like you don't know what you only see through your field of vision. You don't see all the infinite possibilities of the things that are happening outside of your field of vision.
I would also say, as another analogy, start with something simple, like try something for the first time that you've never eaten before. I mean, I had to really get out of my comfort zone to have spinach, to be honest.
Not a
I'm
Popeye fan?
no spinach and broccoli and that stuff, because growing up, the mindset was like it was you had to eat it, so you didn't want to eat it. And then I started eating like this is really good, um, because it was negatively impressed upon me, like if you don't eat the food, something's going to happen. So I'm like, then I'm not going to eat. Then I'm going to be forced in, and it's that in life. I mean, give things a shot, and it can be a small, very attainable thing. It doesn't have to be something major, and you'll feel better every time you accomplish something.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I used to be so afraid, and it sounds silly, but like ordering a pizza on the phone or even going through a drive-through, those were things that like seriously bugged me out. Like I was so afraid of them, and I obviously got over them. I was,
Well,
yeah.
but why? I mean, if you don't mind my asking, what were you so afraid of?
So I think so with the like, so I'll give you an example. We used to order pizza every Sunday night, and my sister would like order it on the phone. I think I was just afraid of being on the spot and not knowing the answer, and having the person on the other line being like, "What do you want from me?" Like, I don't know. Do we want a large, or do we want an extra large? Do we want extra cheese? What do we want? I think it was afraid of the fear of the unknown. And I also had that when I worked at one of the jobs I had in college before I worked for the Florida Association of Realtors was I was a bill collector for AT&T. It wasn't a fun job, I will admit,
Uh,
but like being on like that was just that got me over the phone fear like real quick, because you have those headphones on and the calls just keep coming through, and they're not necessarily the most comfortable calls, but like just getting over that, yeah, you just put yourself in that situation.
you not share yourself and your superpower, you may be robbing them of what they need.
It's true. I completely agree, Felicia.
I think we all have superpowers, and I think um, not to be afraid to share them. Again, if I don't know, I mean, I think the other issue is people look at this as bragging and showing off, and it's not that. And that's another mindset. If you're good at something, be proud of it.
I will say I had that when I was, you know, discovering myself, and I was applying for other jobs, and I was looking at all these jobs that I just felt like I would die like working, and it sounds so dramatic, right? But I was like looking at these jobs and I was like, oh, like I don't like I know that I wouldn't be happy there, and I'm like writing cover letters and resumes, like trying to fit myself in a certain mold, and like offering like when I was also going through that process, you're thinking about, okay, you look at what this job wants, and you're like, okay, well, what can I do to contribute? And you also start teasing out things like that you're good at and how you can contribute. And all the while I was trying to make myself fit in a mold that I just didn't fit in, until I finally realized that like I needed to create this so that I can share what I'm good at with the world, because like it would be a shame for me not to be able to share my superpowers. I would be unhappy, and the people that I work with would be missing out.
I think it's also knowing what you're not good at. I actually sang
Yeah.
karaoke once on a dare at work, and I went up there and I did it because I'd never done it before, and I probably will never do it again, at least not to that song. I know I don't have a good singing voice, and even when I'm singing in the shower, no one has to hear it. But again, it's just trying different things out. So Christine has in here. I think people think only one person can have that superpower, be the subject matter expert, but that's not correct. We definitely.
I agree. We have multiple superpowers, and I think as we grow and we evolve, we have more things that come out. Like like I'll say one of the first videos that I put out, I cringe watching them. But you get better as you do something. Maybe you're not going to be the karaoke star of the world, but I mean, if it's something that you're passionate about and something that you really want to do, I definitely encourage you to keep practicing and keep doing it. Like, you know,
Even sometimes asking, like I know some people don't realize they have a superpower, and I've told them. I mean, because they don't think of it that way.
yeah, they don't see it as special, whereas what they're doing really contributes in a magical way to other people's lives. And that's where the power of contrast really comes in, and speaking to other people and asking for help.
So I want to thank you very much, Sharon, for chatting today, and I want to thank everyone for attending. Very, very much. I want to wish everyone a very nice holiday season, whether you're celebrating Ramadan or Easter or Passover. Um, have a good weekend. Stay safe. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks again for listening, Sharon. I appreciate this so much. Thank you very
No,
much.
thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.